let's get everything started here. Let's say a prayer, praise atheism. You know what atheism needs is like a leader, like a sort of like almost like a magical kind of charismatic guy
that everyone could get behind.
Yeah, that everyone could get behind.
And if there was like a book or some
like
text or something, they would like lay everything out for them so that they could all have a cohesive thing to follow.
Right. And then like so we know that like if we do that, if we follow all those rules that guy said in that book, that,
then like things will work out.
Things are all gonna work.
Yeah. Even like after we're dead.
Yeah, exactly. I think atheism could really use something like that.
That would be good for atheism.
Oh my God, Mitch, I'm sorry. I was just so surprised to see you standing there.
Not as surprised as I was.
You got that Baywatch podcast, that's where it's at. You've got that Baywatch podcast, that's where it's at. You got that Baywatch podcast, that's where it's at. You got that Baywatch podcast, that's where it's at.
CJ is beautiful up here. You gotta love it, huh?
I know it's beautiful, but I miss the beach. You should come back to Baywatch.
All right. Well, welcome. Welcome back to the Watch of the Bay. Here, me and my Bay Bill are watching Baywatch. We're doing it together, and we hope you're doing it with us. Thank you for coming back. Bill's there. He didn't say hello because I said his name for him. But let's get into it.
Yeah, you're always speaking for me, but that's okay. I'll jump in forcefully.
Here we go on September 29th.
Episode 3.
Episode 3,
If you count the pilot.
1989, called The Heat. So let me get you acclimatized.
I thought it was called Heat Wave. It's called The Heat?
I believe it's called The Heat. About a heat wave. I believe.
thought it was just called Heat Wave.
I mean, we can look it up and I'll edit it in. If it is Heat Wave, I think it's called The Heat.
Well, we'll find out.
I was wrong. It's called Heat Wave. And, it aired on September 29th, 1989. That was 32 years ago, Bill. 2 months, 16 days ago. It was the generation of the millennials, of course. The Chinese zodiac sign of the snake, the star sign Libra. It was also Michaelmas, which is something I didn't know about. It's the Christian feast of the Archangel St. Michael, St. Gabriel, and St. Raphael. Michaelmas, like Christmas, but just Michael.
Okay.
On that day, Zsa Zsa Gabor was convicted of slapping a police officer in Beverly Hills. So that's kind of cool. The movie that was popular at the time, Henry V, directed by Kenneth Branagh. It was one of the most viewed movies. Silent Partner by Jonathan Kellerman, one of the best-selling books. And again, Blackadder Goes Forth was the TV show that neither of us have heard of that was popular. Not Baywatch yet.
I've heard of it. I know Blackadder.
I know Blackadder, but not from the show. I know it from like fucking Sherlock Holmes or something, right? Or some kind of.
See, I know it from the show. I've seen it on like streaming services. I feel.
Oh, okay. So you've seen
it. Looked at it. So maybe it's just wound up on streaming.
This particular
because it was a hit back in the 90s.
Right.
That's a pretty popular thing to happen.
This particular episode, Bill, we have a new writer and a new director. It's not some of the writers we've mentioned before. Sorry, Greg. And it's not the director of the last episode. We have a man named Ernie Wallengren, who was a Utah native, who, he was a Mormon, man. He did a mission in Central America.
Oh.
He even graduated from Loyola Marymount University with a degree in communication. So that's the only interesting thing about this author. He did some Touched by an Angel and shit too, but no, he didn't do Touched by an Angel.
So
he did the what's the one about the woman on the range and it's kind of like the Oregon Trail. What's that one, Bill? She lives in a wagon.
Not Dr. Quentin Medicine Woman, is it?
I think you're right, but I think it might be something else.
No, that's a different one. That's the one that my mom would watch, but there's a different one that is like Little House on the Prairie.
Prairie, baby.
Is it
He
that?
wrote some Prairie. Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Or directed
My
some
mom
prairie.
liked Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman. She thought that was a better kind of thing in the same genre.
My
show in
sister
the same
loves
genre.
Prairie, so they're gonna have to. We're gonna do there's gonna be a spin-off episode of our show where it's my sister and your mom debating on which show is more superior. Anyway, let's get into
right.
fucking Baywatch. That's why everyone's here. The heat.
All right. So as we get into it, we got the opening, which is always fun, and it's
Nighttime.
It's the same as it was last time. So that's established that we
Oh, you
got
mean
this
the-
opening now.
our theme?
We're used to, and well, I don't know if I've mentioned it, but the nipples are always in the opening. We always get that opening shot with some like very clear nipples, like a
Oh,
close
really?
up on someone's like.
Oh, I
on
haven't
a
seen
girl with like her nipples poking through her like swim top.
it.
Like
Okay.
it's just a close up on it.
Yeah.
That's always kind of funny. And it opens up with some like cringy bad dialogue like we usually get.
And it's nighttime too.
Mitch.
I knew it was going to be intrigue. It was like, ooh, it's night. Usually we'd start at the day in the sunlight. Now it's nighttime, and we have some weird, creepy guy, right? He's the PI.
Yeah,
that
it's
we
a slightly different setting, which is nice. We're in a car in a more urban setting. Yeah, it's this guy who's like with his kid. We're like, what's going on? The kids, they're like being chased by someone. They're headed to Los Angeles. Is what
Right.
we know.
Right. And again, I already had, like we mentioned this last episode, or we will when we fucking record it, that I saw the jarring inclusion of like unremastered segments for some reason. Like, for some reason, there are shots that they couldn't remaster, and they remain.
Oh yeah,
They remain in like 1989.
Yes, it was so weird.
Yeah. Like 3 times in the
Yeah,
episode.
'cause-
Like what?
Yeah, all of a sudden it was like, okay, now it looks super fuzzy and like blown up because it was never made to be seen on a TV the size that I'm watching it on.
Yeah. And in my mind, like someone was just like, I don't know where they put that segment of the film. It's lost. I'm telling you, it's lost, George Martin. I know you're trying to remaster this, George Martin, but we can't do it because we lost this. Anyway. But, yeah, Mitch's old friend is coming, right? He's got his son. We seem like...
Well, we don't know that that's Mitch's old friend yet. But then we see Mitch hanging out with Lawyer Guard, which we know now is named Greg. And he's got a suit in his locker, and he's like, I gotta be a lawyer today. Sorry,
Yep.
I can't be. And like Greg's pissed, or Mitch is upset about this because he's like, hey man, it's heat wave.
Right.
We got a heat wave.
You know it's going to be
and
busy
it's
today.
Like all these people at the beach.
Come on, Greg. You know it's going to be busy. It's hot.
Exactly.
Does
And he's
the
like, I
heat...
gotta be a lawyer today.
Does
That's
the heat
exactly what he
change?
says.
Like
Quotes,
before
"Got to
it
be
wasn't
a lawyer
hot.
today."
Before it wasn't hot, and you left the depot, like you left this deposition, and it wasn't hot. And now we need you,
Yep.
and you're just gonna go to court. Like, what are your principles?
Yeah,
I don't get you,
that's-
Greg.
That is just how he is. Yeah. I mean, it seems very random. It does not seem, it seems like he just decides out of the blue, oh, I'm more needed here. No, you're not, dude. You just want to be at the beach today.
Yeah.
Or, no, dude, you just feel like being a lawyer today. Or you don't want to deal with, it's going to be crazy on the sand today. So he's like, fuck that. I'm going to go into the office today.
But we're
He
gonna
probably
find...
doesn't have anything actually to do in the office. Because when you see him later, he's just sitting there.
Yeah.
And it's funny, he doesn't have a computer. Like, now I'm just so used to everyone having a computer. Like, you're not even doing work if you're not on your computer. So it's like, he's just sitting at his office, at
Yeah.
his desk. Like,
Yeah.
it looks very odd. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
It's all like the whole scene is just to build like his conflict. It's like, oh fuck, we have to go find a lawyer's office because we have to film this scene where this guy has to choose between lawyer and lifeguard. You know what I mean? Like they're just like, fuck, we have to address this about this character because everyone's wondering. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Well, I
Like,
think it was just back then you didn't have computers. So the I'm not necessarily making a crack on like the setting. But yeah, it is kind of funny how this plot came up so quickly cuz like we knew it was going to happen sooner or later. But like I kind of was like, okay, this is kind of early. I was surprised that they were pulling it out so early here.
yeah.
That we were going to see this be the main plot here.
Well,
this
you start to,
conflict between
yeah,
his
you
lawyer
realize
life.
you're like, okay, this is what the episode's going to be about for him. Like, right? Like it's
Yeah.
going to be
Very
his
early
choice.
on, that's established, yeah.
Did you note this song, Bill? Like, everything is cool when I'm with you. It's a song for the kids bonding. Because remember Mitch's friend
When they had that montage, when they have the kid bonding montage. Yeah, one of the musical montages is the kids bonding, yeah.
Because Mitch's friend has come, and we know that something shady is going on, but Mitch accepts him because he's sort of
I was
going through a divorce.
Early on, I could tell, I was like, God damn, what trouble is this random-ass kid going to get us into that's going to pull the plot along?
Right.
Because I was like, okay, they're just like really focusing on this random kid and his mom. Like, the camera just like stays there all of a sudden for some unnecessary amount of time, and it's like, all right, and they're establishing this kid is mischievous.
And it was funny to me that they like very intentionally were like, oh, Hobie's not going to be part of this, like he's going to run off, and then some other kid is going to come in and take this kid into the fucking tunnel. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it was like, oh, okay, like
we get this
Hobie has to be
random ass
good.
kid that the camera just focuses on, and
Wise
then
guy,
he
jerk kid.
runs off with Mitch's old friend's kid.
Yes,
because Mitch's old friend, what's that guy's name? Do you know? Do you remember?
I don't have it in my notes.
Same
no.
old.
I don't have it.
we
Yeah, but
need
same
to
old because
maybe-
the lawyer
we
guy
gotta
knows
take-
him too. The lawyer guy
they
knows
all
him.
know him because he used to be a lifeguard there. So they're like, oh. They're like, oh, lawyer guard Greg is like, he just showed up at your place and wanted to crash there with his kids. Same old so-and-so.
Same old Jeb.
It's like, hey, he got custody of his kids. But apparently not here. And I don't know, we'll get maybe to the end already. The spoiler at the end, which is not much of a spoiler. You kind of assume that.
Yeah, we know he's on the fucking run and that he's like a criminal, kind of.
And he's got his son with him. And yeah, it's like, it's kind of implied, I feel, that he he's on the tenuous things with his wife or his ex-wife or the kid's mom.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, you kind of get this. But let's also jump ahead to that. It just got so weird towards the end, too, when, like, you see the investigator.
Yeah,
like,
the PI,
leave,
the
and it's
private
like,
investigator.
What the fuck is this? Well, is he a private investigator or is he from the court? Because I was like, they would send the child abduction unit like out after the kid if like that shit happens. Like that's a common thing.
It was so written to me though, right? Because it's like, all right, okay, wrap everything up. The kids fucking get stuck in the fucking wharf. Mitch saves them. Lawyer guy saves them. Right? They come out, and at the end of it, like, you know, the kid is saved. Like the husband's like, we need to call your mom. Like, you know what I mean? Like he realizes that he needs to start communicating with his wife. And the PI guy or the court guy, he observes that.
It's just like, all right.
And he's like, my job is over, because he's only interested in morality. He's not working a job. He doesn't need to take any data or take any notes.
Now, if he was a private investigator, that makes a little bit more sense.
Not even.
But it also like it
no
doesn't make
job,
any sense.
No
whatsoever.
job
You're right.
makes sense.
Why would you have a private investigator looking for your kid? No, you would go to a lawyer. They would file a petition in court. They would then issue a fucking warrant out, and the child abduction unit would go out and find the fucking kid and get him back. I worked in a family law office for 5 years. It happens all the fucking time.
Right.
It's a common thing. That's what would happen.
Well, no,
you
but
wouldn't have some random ass guy in a suit just following him.
Well, there is the character trope where it's like, oh, like I realized that like I was wrong. You know what I mean? Like that's a character trope in stories where like someone can realize that, but it just doesn't really make sense in this context because this guy presumably had a job and had to investigate these people, and then he just saw that like when the son was saved, the father realized he needed to contact his wife, and he was confident like, okay, they're gonna solve all their problems. My role as a law officer or an investigator is no longer necessary.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like that's not real.
Right.
Like
which
it's just
is
not.
absolutely absurd. and it just like breaks
And he
you
smiles.
out of like
He smiles.
It makes it hard to suspend your disbelief like when shit like that goes on.
It's so silly. Yeah.
Stay in the world of the fiction.
And I think this is
then
where
there's like.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, to go back in the story before you get to that ending, like when the reveal is made that Mitch's friend is on the run, from this investigator because he's with his kid and he lost custody from his kid and he kidnapped his kid, basically. When that's all revealed, I believe that the thing that's so weird is they all assume they all agree to help him. They're like, we're gonna help him, because I can imagine I would do the same thing if this happened to me. If I could lost my custody of, you better bet I would do the same thing, or something. I imagine I would probably do the same thing. And it's they just then decide that they gotta help him,
right.
And it's why do they assume that the family court is wrong? Why if the family court made this decision, there must have been some preponderance of evidence there in front of them that
right.
made them think that he should only have the kid for 1 week in a month. For all we knew, maybe it was ordered to be supervised visits even for some reason because of some extreme behavior or negligent parenting that he distributed.
Which we already can tell.
Why the court would do that.
Yeah.
So why do they assume there's no good reason for him to have lost custody of his kid?
Right.
Let's go help him get the kid.
Right.
Let's help him abscond off with the kid. Let's aid and abet him. It's just so it's our heroes are doing this. These are our heroes, Mitch and Lawyer Guard. Lawyer Guard of all people.
Right.
The person who has a fucking ethical duty.
And I guess it's just because they're we
not
care.
a fiduciary duty there, but he has some ethics.
Right, right.
Come into question with his professional ethical obligation.
So you want them to have a little more resistance to that, like there needed to be some in the story, right?
Yeah, for us to care about them as characters.
Yeah,
otherwise, I'm just what? These people are fucking dumb assholes.
Well,
they're either dumb or they're fucking evil.
Right. Well, we're 3 episodes in, and get ready.
I'm already calling the main characters dumb assholes. Either one. It's not necessarily both. They're dumb or assholes.
Yeah.
Or I guess it could be both. And again, I have a note here. Big highlights. I fucking hate Hobie. The kid is so fucking annoying. This episode especially. And another thing on the negligence side, as we're talking about how fucking dumb Mitch is. Oh my God. The Junior Lifeguard Explorers, which was another one of the song.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
The musical montages.
That's right.
Which I used to be a junior lifeguard. Again, I have some special insight on this episode as someone who works in a law office and was a junior lifeguard. But, so yeah,
there's a kid
bright
posse.
idea because the kids.
Kid
I don't
posse.
think we actually said it, but the kids, the kid who is being kidnapped and this mischievous random kid, they get trapped in the storm train essentially.
Yeah, for the ocean.
Yeah, what?
It's like a storm drain that's connected to the ocean, so when the tide comes up, you're fucked if you're in there.
I have no idea what purpose this serves, but I'm sure there's some structural purpose for this. It just seems like a death trap. Why do they even have this gate?
Yeah.
I guess to clean. I'm sure there's all good reasons for this.
Yeah.
I'm sure these things exist. I feel like I've seen them.
Yeah.
But it's some weird drainage thing where there's a gate and it drains off. And then it goes into a small little tunnel, and then it lets out into a larger thing. And ultimately, that's where our mischievous kids find themselves. When they go on their little rampage and bonding, then they find themselves exploring here. And the one kid says, and you're no, he's going to learn a lesson from this. He's we're kids. It's so fucking cheesy. I had to write it down. It's we're kids though. Kids can get away with anything. That's literally the line he says.
Yeah, yeah.
When it says danger, warning, unsafe, it's no, that's not you're going to get in trouble, little kid. That's you could
You're
die. You can't get away with dying.
Yeah.
You dumbass little kid. Doesn't... Even as a little kid, you'd think that they would know that. I don't know, but maybe not. So anyways, they go in, they get trapped, and they get trapped because and then right after the kids leave then and run off, then these maintenance people come and they lock it.
They lock it up.
They don't check. And this is the where like some negligent liability comes in here. Like to like where I was like, dude, these kids, if these kids got injured or died, there is some serious negligence like on the part that they could be liable for damages for these, if these kids have any or their families and loved ones.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
either that or their families are gonna pitch a show.
To just lock that gate when you know that it's been open, and to not go in and check it. You leave one person there at the gate. You have another person go in and check it. That should be a standard procedure. That's a common sense thing. A reasonable person would do that. They fail to exercise reasonable care. A good lawyer. Any lawyer could do that. Could make a good case for negligence on the behalf of those city for those workers.
Yeah.
So that's fucking crazy. And then our hero Mitch commits another fucking. On top of that, is just like gathers up the fucking junior lifeguards who are all like the same age as these little kids, like anywhere
Kid
from
posse.
like 7 to 12.
Kid posse.
Are like, hey, 7 to 12-year-olds, a big gang of you. I need you to go everywhere you're not supposed to go. Huh? Sound like fun? We gotta find these kids. Okay, so go all the dangerous fucking places that you're not supposed to go. We're not gonna have you supervised. Wander off into fucking liquor stores, porn shops, like all these fucking crazy places.
Yeah.
Like the hood, just like these ghetto alleyways.
Imagine all
imagine all the dangerous shit they were doing. I mean, I was like, dude, this is not.
Imagine all the scenes.
You just you were entrusted with the care of these children. If something happened to those kids, oh my God. I mean, I have a case right now where the PE teacher instructed the kids to give each other high fives, and the kid's hand got broken.
Oh yeah.
One of the kids. Yeah. And we're bringing a claim for negligent supervision, I mean, this is that is a huge fucking negligent act on behalf of our hero Mitch here.
It's pretty blatant.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, blatantly fucking stupidly negligent. I mean, oh my God, these characters, man, they're idiots.
I also want to point out that when the two kids were in that little compartment where the water was coming in through the drain
because
or whatever,
eventually they get pushed and trapped into this thing, and now the water, and everyone can see them in a gate.
Yeah.
And it's literally the kids are in the well situation. The fire department's trying to access it.
And number one, for reasons of dramatic, intrigue, the kids choose to remain right under the waterfall that comes through. Like there's all this space, like they could move against the wall, they could go anywhere. For some reason, they're right under the water that's falling on them. And if you know anything about water in Baywatch, you know that one of these kids is going to just get unconscious, is just going to get taken over by the water. Because when the water hits this kid,
which of course happens
like 3 times in a row.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it happens not once, but like a couple times. Like the kid gets hit by the water. I can't find him. I can't find him. And he's gone.
And that just. And what I want to say is, it does not make any sense the way that the one other kid then is able to swim down, pick him up, and then keep him afloat. When he has no training on how to do that, and even a trained lifeguard would likely struggle immensely to be able to do that.
It's because the water.
I don't really know, but I mean, they would always almost tell you don't even try if you don't have the flotation device. Don't even try to help somebody. They're just gonna drag you down. Like when me and Brian were drowning in the ocean, and Brian was asking for me to help. I remember having this thought I just have to swim and go get help because there's no way I can help Brian. The best way I think I can do is try to save myself to then try to get help for Brian. I cannot go back and try to then drag Brian to the shore. That is impossible.
Yeah.
We will just both die.
You know what's weird?
Those two kids should have just both died.
You know what's weird
a real
is
scenario.
I'm just going to say.
It just didn't make any sense that then he's holding him.
What you're saying right now sounds like such a metaphor. But the thing about it is, what I want to point out is it's because of water, Bill. It's because water, which we're starting to learn, is a character
Oh yeah,
in this
then
show.
the water for dramatic effects
Yeah.
as part of one of the characters of the show.
So the water
Exactly.
killed-
It allowed the kid to hold the other kid afloat.
Yes, because the water is not evil, but the water is like a judge. It's like the hat in Harry Potter that chooses your house, you know? The water is making all these different judgments. The water is like this alien species we're going to learn about as we watch
Or
Baywatch.
like the smoke monster
Yes.
in Lost,
Yes.
you know?
That's
It's
what we
like,
really
it's
wanna
just
talk about.
It's helping the characters be in the places they need to be to grow in
Yes.
the way they need to grow.
Yes.
That is what the water is in Baywatch.
We're going to realize that.
So it allows the other kid to help the other kid stay afloat just long enough for Mitch then to break free. And then there's, oh my God, there's the moment when there's the lifeguards you have the lifeguards, Mitch and lawyer guard, trying to break in through the side, and then through this other access point, and then they're hit by a gate. That
Yeah.
they can't break through. Mitch is just busting against that grate,
He's
trying to
kicking
break it open,
Yep.
pounding it.
He
yeah.
gets it. He
And
gets
then-
it, right?
And then what?
Doesn't he get it? Doesn't he break it eventually?
Yeah, eventually he does. Yeah, eventually he does, dude. And I was so fucking sad and annoyed because like at the top up above you have these like really
Welder.
just like blue collar fucking like overweight like firemen like in their fireman outfits just carrying a ladder and like a blowtorch, and they're just like gonna like cut open the grate. And like before that, they try to lift open the cement block.
Yo, yeah.
And I was like,
It falls.
and I was, you know what? Immediately I was like, once they got it open enough, they should have propped some things up. Because
Yeah,
like,
and
you're
pull
not
'em
gonna
out.
want to
Pull
lift
'em
that
out.
whole thing up. They don't have it designed like that, and you're definitely not gonna have those kids crawl through it without like a more secure thing. I mean, that's even more liability issues. But I mean, you're trying to save them in that instance, so
You're trying to
you're
save
all
them,
right,
but also create drama. So we need that cement block to fall down.
So it fell down and it failed. So then Mitch is like, okay, he's gonna get him, but then he's hit by the gate. And then the firemen, though, on top at the same time that Mitch is pounding against the grate, they're like, all right, we're going to use the blowtorch and just cut open the grate and then get down with the ladder. And they're like, we got to get in somehow. And then I was like, damn, dude, I fucking so want the lifeguards or the fucking firefighters to beat the lifeguards and like get to the kids and be the heroes.
It's
and
not that
like
show.
Mitch is just still stuck pounding that grate. Like, God damn it, I couldn't rescue the kids.
Not that
show. He's just so upset that he couldn't do it, and like is not at all happy that the kids are. I just really wanted to see that as being the ending of the show, but of course it wasn't. Instead, he breaks through, beats the firefighters to it, and rescues the kids. But then eventually they have to get him out through the gate.
Either way.
So then like,
Yeah.
they then eventually cut out. And I say that they could have just cut open the fucking grate from the very beginning, which is what they started to do before one of the lifeguards complained about that
No!
method. And then they tried to lift open the
Yeah.
the cement block and go that way. But if they
Because,
had
Bill-
just cut open the gate from the beginning, they probably would have gotten the kids out there sooner.
The lifeguard clearly identified that for some reason these kids were unable to physically move away.
Yes.
You know?
And then they were directly below, and
Yeah.
the metal. But wouldn't that be the same scenario once 4 people are down there, and they now have to cut open the grate to get all 4 of them out?
And why can't they
So why
just
did
move
they just
to
continue
the wall?
cut open the gate while the lifeguards continued to get in there to help the kids so that they could get them the floating
Yeah.
devices and help them stay afloat while the firefighters was there an animosity kind of between
Yeah.
the two departments?
Yeah,
Which
and
are
I-
supposed to be one department because we learned early on that the lifeguards were absorbed into the fire department.
Right, exactly.
So it's just like you're the same department, dude, and like you're not working together in a very logical way.
and I've never like had to tread water that long or whatever, but I'm like, I don't understand why like they wouldn't just move to the wall. Like you know what I mean? Like
yeah, well, I was thinking about that, and it could be that there's all this water and waves splashing against it's pushing them back towards the center. I could see that. I mean, there could be some physics to the way that the water is moving in that space that is kind of just pushing them into the center. That could be. I don't know.
I'm dubious.
I'll give them that one. I will give them that one.
Dubious.
Why not? What?
I'm dubious. I'm not sure. I think they could have fucking just gone to that corner and avoided that waterfall of water and avoided the fucking sparks from any kind of welding that was going on. Just move to the side a little bit. I think you could swim to the side a little. I'm sorry.
I think so. And there's one point when they leave, when they first leave the kids, when they see him at the grate, at the gate.
Take care of them. Take care of them.
That was another thing, too. It was like they were searching all over, and they never think. And then, like, at one point, like, Obi's like, I haven't looked anywhere except for that one big obvious place.
Yeah.
Like, they might be lost. And then she's like, and then the other lawyer, little Shawnee, the Barbie doll lawyer, she's like, oh, like, no one's been over there except for some maintenance people over there putting a new lock on the gate. It's like,
yeah, and that was like a moment of writing where it was like,
she doesn't immediately go, oh shit, you know what? There was people putting lock. Let's go check there. No, she's like, no, don't even worry about checking there. There was just some maintenance people down there putting a lock on the gate.
No, but we get the moment. We get the moment to see her realize. You know, we get that moment where in their minds they realize, like, we need to go there. Hobie and Lil Shawnee, they both realize.
Hobie is kind of the one that... Because Hobie has to save the day. Hobie's becoming so fucking annoying. He's a little bit like
Wesley Crusher. Wesley Crusher.
God, I'm blanking on his name.
Wesley Crusher.
Thank you. From Wesley Crusher. Yeah, Crusher.
Crusher.
From fucking Next Gen. Crusher. Thank you. Yeah, Wesley, man. That annoying prick who always just comes in and saves the day and like knows more than every fucking specialist on that ship.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Hobie has to be the hero and find them. But anyways, so we get to this. Oh, and I was wondering too, is this going to be like the first of many cave scenes? Because it seems like this is going to be like a reoccurring thing where like we have some people trapped in some like cave-like area. Because this was like a cave, a well. Yeah. There's probably going to be a kid in a well at one point. Imagine we're going to get like a lot of these kind of scenarios. Yeah, and I'm going through my now. That was pretty much it. Then we already talked about like what's up with that fucking investigator. Then he's just like, once they get the kids out and the dad's like, I'll talk to your mom and he just says like, I'll tell her more about what's going on with your son. Like, we'll co-parent better, basically. He makes a pledge, which is like,
his contract is like, I'll pay you if you catch this guy. Like here's the PI's contract. Like, you will be paid on, account of like catching this guy and turning him in or discovering that he had a fucking moral, revelation. Yeah. Like, if he had a moral revelation and realized that he needed to better himself, you'll get paid, or you catch him. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm going to check the box on my contract. Man had a moral revelation. We'll talk to his wife, and we'll regroup his family, and everything will be fine. It's like, what? Like, it was such a saccharine.
You mean I paid you $4,000 to do this plus cost, which came to $5,000. So I paid you almost $10,000 to fucking track this guy down, and all you gave me was an affidavit that you saw him make a moral consciousness. You gave me a piece of paper saying that you saw my ex-husband have a change of heart. Thank you, Mr. Investigator. And that's assuming he's an investigator, which we've already talked about. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
They would have a child abduction unit after them, and then there would be a state duty to take the kid back into custody and enforce the fucking order and bring him back to the custodial parent.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
He's a super undeveloped character, dude, because at first when we see him, we think he's kind of a villain, because I think he's the first person we see at the beginning, like, staking out the dad. And then at the end,
he is.
I honestly think he does he shrugs his shoulders and goes like, like, I honestly think he sees.
Does. That's why I was like, what the fuck is up with this guy?
Mitch looks at him because he was confronting Mitch and was like, Mitch, you're going to be held liable for aiding and abetting this kidnapper, He says that to Mitch. And then at the end, like, Mitch looks at him and is like, oh, is all forgiven? And the guy just kind of shrugs and is like, yeah, everything's fine. Like, And it's like, okay, like, this was such a no consequence character. Like, there was just nothing. Why?
It was.
Why?
That is like a really interesting, like, if you think about like that character, as like he was so just there for like plot purposes, but it was unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like you didn't need to have him there. It's like the writers felt they needed him to be there so that they could like show that, like, establish that he was on the run with his kid.
Yeah. Or
like, why?
maybe it cranks up the drama, but like there's no like payoff. You know what I mean? Like it makes sense to have somebody like tailing your characters that are on the run. But like if it just at the end of the day, like, oh, all is forgiven. Like, I don't know. There's no, like, in writing, like, it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel like it came to a conclusion.
Exactly.
It didn't feel good.
Yeah.
It felt like,
exactly.
you just wrote that character and then you had it and then you just lazily made him smile and give a thumbs up.
Because because there's like a couple ways you can handle it, and what you could have done, and what I would have done is just established some other way, use some other tool like an Amber Alert or like some news thing or something to establish that he is on the run with his kid, that he's kidnapped his kid.
Right.
And then have him have that turn of heart, and then say, like, I'm gonna like, talk to, and I'm gonna talk to her and her lawyer. I'm gonna try to work. You don't just say that, but just have him make the turn of heart, and then just leave it at that.
Yeah.
You don't have to like show anything. You don't have to do that. Like, establish that he's on the run.
Yeah.
Then just have him make the turn of heart, and that's good enough for the audience. Then the audience is left to speculate as to what happens in the court, and that they can speculate that maybe he worked it out with his ex-wife, and they reached a stipulated judgment sharing custody.
Yeah. I even think, and tell me if I'm wrong, Bill, like that it's almost better if like you just never show the PI. And, like, you just have this guy
exactly,
show
that's what
up.
I'm saying. That's
right?
exactly what I'm saying.
But wait, like, never show him, and then, like, he comes to Mitch, and then we have all this stuff identified. Mitch is identifying with him as another estranged father, right, who's going through divorce.
Yeah.
And then, remember when the PI comes to the lifeguard headquarters and is like, wait, Mitch, you're...
Yeah, it gives the news. Just
have that moment, but have a phone call. Just have like, I'm investigating, and you don't have to waste any of that goddamn time. Just have that same moment with like someone who's investigating, and then Mitch has the dilemma.
Exactly.
And everything happens, and you don't have to have the lazy moment at the end where the PI is just like, oh, all is well.
Yeah, because they can't resolve that, and that was like why that felt so fucking weird.
Yeah.
Is because they set this thing up that they then didn't know how to resolve, and they didn't need to set it up in the first place.
Yeah. So any time traveler, like writers from the 80s or 90s, like we can go back and write your show. Like, not today, but
yes.
Could go back and write.
Any executive producers or showrunners who are time travelers from the 80s or 90s.
Hit us up.
We'll write your show for you.
Yeah. And that's fucking
we'll
it,
do
Bill.
punch up on it.
That's all I have to say about that.
But yeah, that's the fucking episode. But let's get into the whole other aspect of it, which is more like the social theme, the social critique of the theme that we wanted to go into, which we didn't really talk about this whole side plot of the dilemma with lawyer guard Greg.
Yeah.
And his like ultimatum, that he has.
Yeah.
Between should I be a lawyer or should I be a lifeguard? Because early on, we see him when he's like, I got to be a lawyer today. I can't be on the sand. And he goes to the office, and we see him just sitting there. And we're like, what the fuck? You had to go there to do paperwork, I guess.
Yeah.
Not even to be at trial, even though you're missing depositions on other days when it's not that busy at the beach.
Right.
But whatever. And then we also see him come in, and his boss comes in, who must be like the partner there or the managing partner or whatever, comes in and says, I just got off the phone with one of your clients who wants a refund of his retainer because he saw you on the pier being a lifeguard, and he says if the city of Los Angeles can pay you $15 an hour,
why should
he
I?
says some small thing like that. Yeah, why should I be paying $300 an hour?
It's a different
And,
skill set, you fucking idiot.
It's like,
It's a different skill set.
That is the most absurd fucking thing to have happen in a law office. There is no way that like that would ever like that conversation would ever happen between like a partner and an attorney, because like the person who like answered the phone, like that the partner would probably never even deal with that, and if they did, like that would just be shut down so quickly. Like at the law office, like that, like the client requesting that on those grounds, like, no, sir, no, that's absurd. Your request is absurd for all of these reasons. Shut up and go away. Okay, it's based on the time of the that is spent on, but like no. So like the partner would never even be upset by that. Yeah. That request would go nowhere of the clients. And so it just doesn't make any sense. But then the other thing that's so strange, and why I made the point of bringing this up in the last episode that we're going to re-record is that he says that he's been knocking it out on this case and that he's awesome and that he's here all the time. He's doing so great on all of his cases. But apparently it's been well established in all the other episodes that he doesn't show up to trial because the beach needs him more. That he's missing a depot, like was said in the last fucking episode, which has all these costs that now the firm like lost or the client lost. So I mean, it's just and now you could have a motion to compel being brought against you and sanctions. I mean, this shit, it just doesn't make any sense that he's been knocking it out of the park and doing really well. But and then on the other side, then the partner who he's talking to has this absurd expectation and request that is just no one would ever make. If I don't have you 7 days a week, I don't want you at all. It's like, oh, so you want to have no lawyers at your firm. And especially if you're in like the field like I am, the big fuck, there is, you hear it constantly talked about work-life balance. Oh, we were big on work-life. Every firm talks about how big they are on work-life balance. Even if they did want you there 7 days a week, like some may, they're not going to fucking say that. They're not going to say like, I need you. That's absurd to be like, that whole thing was just so fucking ludicrous from like on every fucking imaginable level.
You think the culture was that?
And then it gets to this
different in the you think the culture might have been that? I mean, I don't know. Different in like 1989?
No. If anything, it's gotten more work obsessed. If anything, there was more work-life balance in the 90s.
Oh. You wouldn't guess that.
I don't know. I maybe it's not, because I mean, I don't know. I wasn't like, obviously I was in elementary school then, but I don't know. Yeah. It seems like the court just starts earlier and people just stay later.
Yeah.
I don't know. But as capitalism keeps fucking churning ahead.
Yeah.
As what I kind of want to get into, because we get to get a glimpse into the 90s like mindset and like that kind of everything's going to be okay. Because remember, the 90s was the era of, and I'll spice in the book, the end of history. Yeah. You know, when we all thought that, you know, things were just going to get, neoliberalism was just going to progressively make the world a little better. We're just going to tweak this capitalist system a little bit more each time. And we're just the rising tide was going to lift everyone's boat. And, you know, the rich would get richer, but the poor would get poorer. So, or the poor would get richer too, you know? So, so it didn't matter. So everyone was going to just get better and society would keep chugging along. That was the 90s mindset. And you kind of see that with, you know, when the last episode, when we saw like, oh yeah, somehow this guy who's like making $30,000 or less as a lifeguard is able to afford a $12,000 studio apartment in Los Angeles. Yeah, that can just happen. Let's not think about it too much. Yeah, and then this episode, the big plot line is with Mitch, like, you know, and how can he, of course, because he mentions how that's the benefit perks of law school. I can afford this dope ass apartment that's all
Yeah.
massive.
Yeah.
Or not Mitch, lawyer
Greg.
guard, Gary.
Gary, that's right.
Greg.
Greg.
Yeah, Gary.
Well, is it
It's
Greg or
I think.
Gary?
It is
'Cause
Greg. I
Greg
say
is the
Gary.
writer.
I keep saying Gary, but it's Greg. Yeah.
Okay.
Greg.
But he has a wonderful loft, and he even has like a side room that he can give to Foster, right? Like,
Yeah.
actually,
Exactly, 'cause
his
that's-
it seems like his space is like less like lush than Mitch's. Like Mitch has a bigger home.
Oh yeah, he does.
And Mitch is working
and
one
that-
job.
And we see that in the opening here, and I remember taking note of that.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, and that ties into the greater theme here, is that Mitch, and because you looked this up too, is the salaries of lifeguards here
Today are less than
today
teachers. It's like
is-
$38,000 on the low end, and then when you're a lead lifeguard, it goes up to like 42,000. But I don't see lieutenant
So-
lifeguard. But still, that's less than a teacher. That's
So Mitch is so Mitch in the 90s, let's be super generous. Mitch in the 90s is probably making 50 is at best. Let's be super fucking generous. Overestimate. He's making 90,000. He's working overtime as a lieutenant. He's working overtime. He's making 50,000 a year.
yeah,
How is he fucking affording that place?
yeah.
I make that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Because like I mean I make 70,000 a year, so let's adjust for inflation. So let's say now he's making 70,000. Well, I make 70,000. Where do I live in a 1-bedroom where I pay 1,600.
right, right,
You know, and it's like, and I can save a little money. I could probably maybe swing 2,000.
right.
You can't live in a fucking
House.
multi-bedroom fucking dope ass
On-
nice house in West LA.
On
in
the
like
water.
West part.
On the water. Like he's fucking on the water, if I'm not mistaken.
You're right. He is like on the fucking beach.
Yeah.
That house rent there could be fucking it's 4, 5, 6 grand, maybe even 9.
Meanwhile, that loft that the lawyer guy has, they're saying like rent is like $1,200, like for like a studio.
For a studio.
At that time in 1989.
Yeah.
So
that's what
I
I
don't
mean.
know
So
how.
you know that the rent there is well over
Yeah.
1,600. There's no way he's making 50,000 and is like paying, or it's over 2,000. The rent at his
Yeah.
place is over 2,000 easily.
Yeah.
He's at best, if we're super generous, making
Yeah.
50,000,
Yeah.
if that.
Yeah.
So that just doesn't make any sense. I mean,
Well, now
what is that? 20? Yeah.
let me ask you though, Bill. Now, just going.
And he's raising a kid, and he's got a kid.
Yeah. And now let me ask you going into it, because I was, it happened in Dexter too. I was watching the fucking recent Dexter. Dexter's, he's a serial killer. Now he's come back and he's a store clerk and he has his own cabin in the woods and, he can afford it. And it's like, this
Right.
keeps
He's
happening.
trying not to kill.
Yeah, and like I watch these shows, I'm watching that Baywatch and I watch this Dexter, and I have that, like, it suspends my disbelief a little bit. Like, wait a minute, like, how could they afford that? And I'm like, am I just being like stupid, snowflake, reactionary, like can't enjoy media? Or is it real? It's like, no, like we need to adjust. Like storytelling is doing a disservice to work and like the workplace, and like, you know what I mean? Like it makes sense for people who are working to see this in TV and be like, wait, that's not right. Like you can't have that life and like work. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm wondering about that discrepancy between like story and like fucking labor. And like,
Well, yeah, it definitely, I think if anything, it adds to the complacency of labor, because it's like, and I don't know, to be honest, if people want to see it, because yeah, we see that in this, like, I think I was telling you earlier, The Simpsons, we saw that like happen too, where like more and more the stories in the early seasons would be focused around like how they don't have money. Marge can't afford to buy a new dress, and like she's embarrassed, and there are always these plots with that, but then eventually Homer's just able to pull out wads of cash to pay for anything so they can go and do wacky adventures.
yeah.
And
But you're saying
and
that
you see
that's an
characters
evolution,
like Mitch having
right?
nice ass houses.
But
and
wait,
stuff.
Bill, pause for a second. You're saying that like Homer being able to like pull out wads of cash, like that's an evolution through time. Like was that early Simpsons too? It's like
No.
always. Right. So is
No,
there?
that's what I'm saying. Is it eventually he can just pull out? They get to the point in the later seasons where like he'll just pull out a wad of cash so he can buy something to move the plot along into a wackier direction.
Right. Like the
because
stress of
it's like-
work doesn't exist. Like the stress of labor and whatever you
Yeah.
have to do doesn't
And
is
let
not
me
real.
finish my let me just
Go ahead.
finish my point, because I think some of it is like lazy, like with The Simpsons, where it's like we just want to tell these stories where The Simpsons can go to these crazy places, and we don't want to have to explain how they can afford it, you know, because that's too much time, and we don't have that much time in our 20-minute episode. So there's that's what like I feel like it is a lot of times. But then sometimes I feel like it's also the combination of like the audience. Like you watch a lot of like a show like Baywatch with Mitch and like his like nice house. The audience at Baywatch does not want to see Mitch struggling, not able to fucking support his kid, like having to get be on Medicare
Right.
for his health insurance,
Right.
like, you know, living in a 1-bedroom with his son, you know, sleeping in the living room on the couch. Like that is not what the audience wants to see. That will be depressing for them.
Right.
The reality of the world is
Right.
depressing.
Right.
So I think it's like a combination of like of all these different things where like, you know, what comes out in our culture is just like these TV shows, which, you know, is like a reflection of us, of in our culture, like a mirror on us, but we don't want to look at the real, what we really look like. We don't want to actually acknowledge that we're all struggling
Right.
and fucked. We want to pretend like, no, you can be a lifeguard but still have a fucking afford a nice ass house on the beach and raise
Right.
your kid. It wouldn't be a struggle, and
But
you'd have other struggles like, you know, raising your kid, not
Yeah.
having to worry about money.
But you know what's-
that one sucks.
What's weird to me is that it's like how you're saying. I think you're right, but it's like like we both want to look at like this glossy version of life where Mitch can afford this beautiful like beachside property, but then at the same time like we really want to recognize like Tony Soprano and Walter White, who are like
Right.
grading against the same thing that we don't want to recognize, but they're doing it in this heinous
Right.
way where they're just being criminal, and we're like, yep,
Right.
you either need to be crazy criminal or you need to just pretend whatever's happening isn't happening, because what's really happening is too intense to focus on. You know,
Right.
is
and
too
that is almost like, yeah, it's so extreme in the other way that it does the same effect for the audience.
Right.
Like, of like just making them not have to worry about their own material conditions and reality.
right.
Yeah, and distracting them from that. And you know what's funny though too is like on a totally other like third like plane is like a show that was also really popular and like a #1 sitcom in like 1989, I think, was Roseanne, which was very much focused on how
Working
poor
class.
they were and them being struggling and not having any money. I mean, that was like almost every fucking plot of the episode of episodes is like, until they win the lottery, of course, which is again commenting on that shit. Like, I mean, it's very much commenting on that at that same time, like that kind of and I think that was, so I think that maybe there is audiences, the audience can handle it if it's done in I don't know, that's just, so maybe it's not the audience to blame so much. I don't know.
Yeah, like
I
I'm
was
not trying
first
to be too
posing.
I'm not trying to be too critical either, because TV is supposed to be like and not and you know, an escape. Like stories are supposed to be
Right.
like a way to reflect on what's going on without having to like really deal with it, right?
Or experience it yourself. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, or like, have to, like it's able to kind of reflect on something and process something without having to actually go through the trauma or of like,
Right.
I know what you mean. Like I can't express it, but
And sometimes these stories, you know, like what we're talking about in terms of like hating on Baywatch a little bit, is it's like on that extreme of the spectrum where it's like it feels like ignoring reality as a disservice.
Yeah.
Instead of
yeah,
highlighting.
it's like modern shows like This Is Us and, you know, Council of Dad, all those network shows and stuff that have that same kind of feel where it's just like it's so like removed from reality in this picturesque way where it's and then, you know, and Baywatch very much was one of those shows.
Right.
And it's just, I don't know if that started really big in the 90s or if was just kind of, but I mean, I think it was always like that with Leave It to Beaver and Father's Knows Best.
Right.
And, there's just a lot of like, people want to see idyllic shit,
Right.
It was kind of always counterculture to go against that grain and be the Walter White or the I'm trying to think of Lenny Bruce. Is that the comedian?
The comedian, yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, yeah, because like what's popular in terms of media and like stories and TV is often like not right, like what's real human experience, right? Like the first thing that's popular isn't
and shows like Roseanne are super rare because it really comes close to that real human experience. Right. And I think like early Simpsons too, when they're more struggling, when you have episodes like the class struggle of Springfield, where Marge, has to keep resewing that same dress that she just happened to get on a super good discount. Yeah. And it was her into like high society with these women. Yeah. And she kept having to re-alter it to like fit in because she couldn't afford a new one. Yeah. And, there's this bit, it's a whole class, a class war like episode. And like, I think that's partly why those shows were such gems, and why we love them so much, but they are rare, It's rare that you get one. You usually get one of those other ends of the spectrum, either super glossy and pretty and like not really going to deal with a lot of these like harsher realities of capitalism mostly. The externalities of it and effects of it and the dissociations that we feel from each other and our life and society as a whole. And then on the other side, we're going to go hard deep into that, like the movie, Joker, the Marvel movie, which I think, has some good politics, despite maybe not being the best movie ever.
I hate that movie.
And like Breaking Bad or Sopranos, shows like that, which really do expose those kind of harsher realities. But then you have shows like Soprano and Breaking Bad where they do it in almost like a genre way. Like, this guy's a mobster. Oh, this guy's a drug dealer. Right. So it's like, he's dealing with these things with his family falling apart and feeling dissatisfied about life and all these same similar tropes that like everybody feels about, and lack of meaning and connection. But I don't have to feel like as connected. It's not like as real hitting. It doesn't remind me of my own situation as much because this is Tony Soprano. This is Walter White. I mean, they're these crazy people in the mafia or selling meth. I'm not one of these people. But Homer Simpson or, Roseanne, from those are characters that are like you. They're just at home with their families struggling. Right. So it's like, it's rare that those kind of shows will resonate with the audience as much. Right. For some reason. I don't know. No, I don't know if it's that they'll resonate, but for some reason you have less of them in our history. Right. In our culture.
Right. The working class sitcom.
Yeah, that doesn't ignore the real, because there's so many working class sitcoms like King of Queens and According to Jim and all of these fucking awful working class sitcoms and good ones like Everybody Loves Raymond's
Married with Children. One.
Yeah, but Married with Children, actually, I would put more in the camp.
It's a good one.
Of with Roseanne and stuff.
Yeah, it's a good show.
One does acknowledge the reality. No, I'm not talking about the quality of the show. I'm talking about like what we were just talking about. Like, does it acknowledge?
Right. It's analyzing what's going on with people.
Let me just finish, because where I was bringing up those other shows that were working class sitcoms, quote unquote, like Leave It, like King and Queens, According to Jim and whatnot, is because those are working class sitcoms in a sense, but they ignore the material realities of the working class living conditions, in so many ways. Like, they often aren't struggling for money or like are able to do all these things somehow.
It's virtue signaling to the working class in a way.
Yeah, it is more, but not really address living in the working class or addressing working class issues in a real way. Yeah. It's kind of just like paying lip service to them. Yeah. Whereas I think Married with Children, I would say not so much. I
agree. I think
I haven't explored or rewatched it. I kind of, it's one that I've had kind of in my thoughts to.
No, it's a good show. I've watched it, man.
Yeah.
it stands up. Yeah, like it's real and funny, and
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. So,
yeah.
so they're there. They're on Fox a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, like yeah, I guess that's one of the interesting things about this episode. We really saw that's what Baywatch was. We
Right.
saw it with Mitch's apartment, with the lawyer, and then the lawyer, to finish up on that storyline, because then he ultimately is deciding okay, I guess I've got to go back to
Private.
or no, he decides, okay, I'm going to be a lawyer because I need the lawyering for money, which again, it makes it weird because it's like, well, why doesn't Mitch need to be a lawyer? Why can he raise a kid as just a lifeguard, but you need to be both a lifeguard and a lawyer just to afford your loft?
Don't think about it too much.
Doesn't make sense.
Don't think too much.
Yeah. But so anyway, that's what kind of forced me to think about it.
Right,
So I'm
right.
like, wait, why does he need money, but none of the other lifeguards do?
Right.
Was he the only one that needs a side job as a lawyer?
Well, no, one and then one of
anyway.
them can't. One of them has to sleep in the.
Sleeping in the so it kind of forced you to think about it, and it didn't really give you a resolution.
Yeah.
It was satisfying. So it made you then unfold the whole reality of television being on these spectrums like we just discussed. But anyways, so the lawyer then ultimately decides, Greg, is it Greg? Yeah, Greg decides Craig, right? Is it Greg or Craig?
You know better than me, man. It's not Gary.
Anyways, lawyer guard, he fucking decides, okay, I guess the solution is I will start my own practice. And I won't, because I thought I was getting the sneaking suspicion he does not do the type of law that I work in, like plaintiff's law. I was like, he's not a righteous fucking dude going up against corporations on behalf of little people.
No
He's
more,
probably
no
a
more
corporate defense lawyer.
corporations. That's what his wife
And
said.
if
No more.
fucking
Yeah.
what?
That's what his wife
Yeah,
said,
that
though,
came
right?
up a bunch. Yeah, his girlfri's like, how about you work for people, not corporations?
Yeah, not
Yeah, it's
corporations,
like,
man.
oh, okay, yeah, you are a fucking insurance defense attorney, you fucking asshole. You goddamn prick. No wonder you're like... but then earlier he says, I got clients I love. It's like, who? Allstate? What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. No, we're just trying to round him out as a character. That's all.
No, but later he's talking. Yeah, and there's well, he has to have a conflict between being a lawyer and a lifeguard.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
so then he has to mention that he likes these clients. But then later he says he represents corporations. So I guess he likes corporations. But no, he doesn't want to represent the corporation. So why the fuck did he say he has clients he likes? Well, it doesn't make any goddamn sense. Ah!
Yeah, that's what I
Bad
mean.
writing.
Don't
But-
think.
Just don't think.
Don't
Just look
think.
at the nipples.
Yeah.
But
don't
anyways,
think
so
your way
he
into
ultimately
the.
decides to start his own practice.
Yeah.
And that's where his storyline ends.
And
for
that's
that
the end.
episode. Heat Wave.
That's
Sums
the end
it
for
up.
us.
Heat Wave.
Right? That's the end for us.
That's the end for us too.
Oh, sir. Just one more thing.
Well,
Yeah, you
join
can
us
find
again.
You join us again next time. You can find us on all the places at Baywatching P on Twitter, at Baywatching Podcast on Instagram.
And you can follow it all, and you can give us all of your money very soon.
Please.
And we know you will, so we look forward to it.
We can't watch Baywatch without you.
And we'll see you next time on Baywatch.
Goodbye. All right, Bill, I'm closing it.
All right, that ended very well.
Are you in it? Yes, and it has the same values as Knight Rider. It's about saving lives. It's basically running down the beach in a bathing suit with beautiful women, saving lives in the ocean. No car? I said, no, there's no car.